For our summer vacation this year, we took our boat across the Bay of Fundy. We left before dawn and got to see a beautiful sunrise. We made it across the bay and traversed the reversing falls, and someday I'll paint those bridges, but I'll have to do it from a photograph because when we go through pretty quick. Then we were in the St. John River system, and then I brought out my sketchbook. And this is a sketchbook that I made myself out of a variety of different papers so that I would have no excuse not to practice with different papers. I started by doing some direct watercolor studies of a boat that was close to us, and then there were some more boats, so I painted those as well. And then I practiced just the colors of the water and some cloud studies. And because there were a bunch of boats, of course, I had to put them in. How could I be surrounded by sailboats and not paint them? We put in for the night at a popular anchorage, and it really was very popular this time around. There were 23 other sailboats there besides us. We'd never seen it so busy. And so, of course, when we get up the next morning, I had to sketch at least some of those boats and put them into my sketchbook. Then we proceeded further up the river, and in this case I was just doing studies to try and catch the atmosphere of a hot summer day inland on a body of water where the distant landmass turned blue because it was so far away. And then here I practiced catching showing the shaded colors of the trees. I didn't want it to get too dark because they were quite far away, and so they were muted by the atmosphere. Then I wanted to paint one of the many very interesting clusters of trees that lined the edge of the river. There were a lot of pastures and there were cows in these fields quite often. I couldn't swing the cows as we were going, but I managed to quickly sort of draw in the shape of this clump of trees with paint, and then as we kept going, I added more details based on some of the other tree clumps that we passed. We put in for a night in Oromocto, and this was the view from where we were tied up, and this was paper again that I'm not quite used to, so I wanted to try the scene again, and this time I was painting on hot press paper, which is a really smooth, slick paper, and so I can't get these rough marks that the rough paper gets me with the smooth paper, so I had to adjust how I used the brush to make this painting. I was fascinated by the exposed roots that have the dirt washed away from them when the river floods. So I painted this. This again is on hot press paper, and it was really neat to capture that lacy sort of texture of the roots where you can see deep in underneath the tree in places, and then it catches the light in other places. That was a lot of fun to paint. Another tree scene. This was a series of trees lining the edge of the river, and we were tied up when I painted this, so I was able to spend some more time on it. And again, this is a place that is pasture, and I am quite sure that cows sometimes come through these trees and come down to the river to drink. We spent a night tied up on an island where we could bring our boat's nose into the shore, and we tied ropes to the shore and put anchors out the back, and we're able to leave our boat. We'll stay on our boat there overnight. Usually you don't run a boat up onto the ground when you have a sailboat. It's a very unusual thing to do. So it was a lot of fun, and I had to sketch it. We took our boats as far up the river as you can go. Sailboats have big masts that stick out, so we were stopped by a low bridge. We couldn't go any further. So we anchored below the bridge, went into the city, and I walked to my favorite art supply store and bought some art supplies, which was just great. It was nice to be there after I hadn't been there in 2.5 years because of the pandemic, so it was great to be able to browse through their store. This was a rough painting day. Whatever I tried to do didn't seem to work. So, that happens sometimes. Every sketchbook is going to have one or two that didn't quite turn out. Here again, I was painting on another sheet of the hot press paper, which is so super smooth, and so the clouds have really sharp edges because that's just part of the nature of the paper. Is it it's like painting on glass. But this was kind of fun. It's neat to practice on different papers. Here I did a quick color study and then moved on and tried to do another foliage and tree study. Distant blues in the background, too blue here, and I painted it too green here. So I'm learning things, even as I'm on vacation. Another sailboat sketch. These were some motorboats. We were having a picnic on the beach and a bunch of motorboats came and set up and had their own picnic. And, you know, it was neat to try and paint these very different shapes. I don't feel that was quite successful, but it was, again, good practice. Because the last one wasn't super successful, I thought I'd try again, made the boat smaller, wanted to paint more of the shadows on the beach, but at that point I was tired. The next day, I thought, well, I need something simple just to paint quickly and you know, get beyond this. So I did a simple atmosphere and sky study, and I was happier with that. A little down the river from the one I just showed you is this lighthouse at Oak Point, and I drew it in really fast as we went by, drew in the campground that's behind it, and was able to paint this as we went along, mostly from memory, but it was a lot of fun to paint this. I like this one a lot. Our last night on the river, there was a nice sunset with a different lighthouse in behind. I never did finish the lighthouse because I was concentrating on trying to show this glow here where the sunlight was reflecting off the water and lightening the trees in behind. And this is from our very last day. We were at a yacht club just outside of St. John, and there was a sailing race. So after supper, when I saw the race after supper, I went out and painted the boats as they were finishing their race as the sun was setting behind some clearing storm clouds. It was a lovely evening and it was a lot of fun. So that's my summer vacation sketchbook. I hope you've enjoyed seeing it. None of these are what I would consider finished paintings, but they're a record of where I was and what I saw when I was there. So I hope you're having a great summer, and thanks for watching this.